Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge of the UES Defiance as the ship moved slowly toward the massive space station. The station was bigger than any city on Earth. It floated around a huge gas planet with swirling storms that looked like angry eyes. Jake had never seen anything so big or so scary in his life. The year was 2387, and this was the most important day in human history. After 30 years of sending messages into space and getting no answers, the aliens had finally agreed to meet with them. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they ruled all the known planets and star systems in this part of space. Lisa Park stood next to Jake on the bridge. She was Earth's best diplomat and had spent her whole life preparing for this moment. Her hands shook a little as she watched the alien ships floating around the station. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They glowed with strange lights and seemed to bend space around them. Ryan Cole was busy at his workstation checking all the ship systems. He was the best engineer Earth had ever produced, but even he felt small looking at the alien technology. Their own ship seemed like a toy boat next to the massive alien vessels. The communication system crackled to life and a strange voice spoke in perfect English. The voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Human vessel, you are cleared. To Docket Bay 17. Follow the guidelights and do not deviate from the assigned path." Jake nodded to his pilot, who carefully followed the blinking lights toward a huge opening in the station. As they flew closer, Jake could see that the docking bay was filled with ships from dozens of different alien species. Some looked like giant insects made of metal. Others seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. When they docked, Jake felt his stomach turn over with nervousness. He had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to face. The three humans put on their best uniforms and walked through the airlock into the alien station. The corridor they entered was huge. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them, and the walls were covered with symbols that hurt to look at. Strange creatures moved past them without looking. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, but others crawled on 6 or 8 legs. A few seemed to float in the air without any visible means of support. A tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms approached them. It spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "I am Guide Nexus 7. You will follow me to the council chamber. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Do not stray from the path." They followed the guide through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Jake noticed that other aliens stopped to stare at them as they passed. Some pointed with appendages that looked like claws. Others made sounds that might have been laughter, but sounded more like grinding machinery. Finally, they reached a massive chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. Hundreds of different aliens sat in curved rows that rose up toward the ceiling. At the center of the chamber was a small platform where the humans were told to stand. Jake looked around at the assembled aliens and felt very small. These beings had been traveling between the stars for thousands of years, while humans had only just learned to leave their own solar system. The technology in this room alone was probably more advanced than everything Earth had ever built. A creature that looked like a giant lizard with glowing red eyes stood up from the highest row. When it spoke, its voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. "So these are the famous humans we have heard so much about. How disappointing. They look exactly like the primitives we expected them to be." Laughter erupted from all around the chamber. It was not friendly laughter. It was the kind of laughter that bullies made when they found someone weaker than themselves. Jake felt his face turn red, but he forced himself to stand straight and proud. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a huge insect with wings that buzzed constantly. When it spoke, its voice clicked and chittered. "Look at their pathetic ship. They still use chemical rockets and metal hulls. How quaint. My ancestors were building faster than light drives when these mammals were still living in caves." More laughter filled the chamber. Jake wanted to defend his people, but Lisa had warned him to let her do the talking. She stepped forward and began to speak in her most diplomatic voice. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, we come to you in peace, seeking friendship and mutual cooperation. Earth may be young compared to your great civilizations, but we have much to offer. We are a determined people who never give up when faced with challenges. The laughter grew even louder. A creature made of what looked like living crystal rang like a bell when it laughed. Determined? You took 30 years just to build a ship that could reach us. Most species accomplish interstellar travel in their first decade of spaceflight. The lizard creature spoke again. Perhaps in a few thousand years you might develop something worth our attention? Until then, we suggest you focus on learning basic agriculture and leave the important work to your betters. Jake felt anger building inside him, but he knew that losing his temper would only make things worse. These aliens thought humans were nothing more than clever animals who had accidentally stumbled into space. They had no idea what humans were really capable of when pushed to their limits. The insect creature buzzed its wings impatiently. Very well. Earth is welcome to join the Council as a protected species. You will receive our guidance and protection. In exchange for following our rules and regulations, you may keep your little planet as long as you cause no trouble. Lisa tried to object, but the crystal being cut her off with a sound like breaking glass. The decision is final. You should be grateful we are allowing you to survive at all. Most primitive species are simply absorbed into existing empires. As they were escorted back to their ship, Jake noticed that the alien guards were not even carrying weapons. They clearly did not consider humans to be any kind of threat. That would be their first mistake. Back on the Defiance, Ryan was furious. Protected species? They want to treat us like pets in a zoo? Lisa shook her head sadly. It could have been worse. At least they are not planning to invade us immediately. Jake stared out at the alien fleet surrounding the station. Ships that could probably destroy Earth's entire space force without breaking a sweat. But as he watched them, he noticed something interesting. For all their advanced technology, these aliens had grown soft and arrogant. They had forgotten that the most dangerous enemy is often the one you underestimate. Let them laugh, Jake said quietly. But they have no idea what we have been working on back home. 6 months had passed since the meeting with the Galactic Council, and things were getting worse for humanity. The aliens had not forgotten about Earth, but they were not treating humans like equals either. Reports were coming in from the outer colonies that made everyone worried. Admiral Kate Brooks sat in her command chair at Luna Station looking at the bad news on her screen. 3 human mining colonies had gone completely silent in the past 2 weeks. No radio signals, no emergency beacons, nothing at all. The last message from the colony on Kepler 7 had been cut off in the middle of a sentence. The door to the command center opened and Captain Danny Foster walked in. His ship, the UES Guardian, had just returned from patrol duty near the outer rim. The look on his face told Kate everything she needed to know before he even opened his mouth. "It's the Sethric Empire," Danny said without waiting for her to ask. "I found debris from the mining station at Kepler 7. The whole place was blasted to pieces. My guess is they used plasma cannons to make sure nothing survived." Kate felt sick to her stomach. The Sethric were the lizard people who had laughed the loudest at the council meeting. They were known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty and their belief that might makes right. If they were attacking human colonies, it meant they saw Earth as easy prey. How many people were at Kepler 7? Kate asked, even though she already knew the answer. 3,000 miners and their families, Danny replied. All dead now. The Sethric don't take prisoners. Other captains began arriving for the emergency meeting Kate had called. Captain Susan Wright came in looking grim. Her ship, the UES Defender, had been patrolling near the Centauri system. Captain Bill Hayes arrived from the asteroid belt where his ship, the UES Ranger, had been escorting cargo vessels. When everyone was seated, Kate activated the main display screen. It showed a map of human space with red dots marking where the attacks had happened. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The Sethric were moving steadily toward Earth, destroying everything in their path. Intelligence reports indicate this is not random piracy, Kate explained to the assembled officers. The Sethric are conducting a systematic campaign to demonstrate that humans cannot defend themselves. They want to prove to the other council members that we don't deserve protection. Captain Wright raised her hand. What about asking the Council for help? Surely they won't allow one member species to wipe out another. Kate's expression grew even more serious. I've already tried that. Root. The Nexari claim this is an internal matter since we haven't proven we can defend our territory. The Hive Queen says it's natural selection at work. We're completely on our own. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth's space fleet was tiny compared to the major galactic powers. They had maybe 50 ships total, and most of those were small patrol vessels or cargo haulers. The Sethric Empire commanded thousands of warships, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire planets. That's when Dr. Helen Martinez entered the room. Kate had been waiting for her arrival because Helen was the head of Earth's most secret research project. For 50 years, she had been working on something that might give humanity a fighting chance against impossible odds. Gentlemen and ladies, Kate said, as Helen took her place at the front of the room, Dr. Martinez has an update on Project Shadow. Helen looked around the room at the worried faces of Earth's best ship captains. These people had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity, but they all knew they were facing an enemy they couldn't possibly defeat in a fair fight. Fortunately, Helen had never believed in fighting fair. For 50 years, Helen began, ever since we first detected alien radio signals, we have been preparing for this exact situation. While the galaxy laughed at our primitive technology, we have been developing something they never expected. She activated a control device and the main screen changed to show what appeared to be empty space. Just stars and darkness with nothing else visible anywhere. This is a real-time image from the asteroid belt taken 30 minutes ago, Helen continued. What you are looking at is the UES Phantom, humanity's first fully operational stealth dreadnought. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Captain Foster leaned forward in his chair. I don't see anything at all. Are you sure there's a ship there? Helen smiled for the first time since entering the room. The Phantom is completely invisible to all known sensor types, including visual observation. She has been hiding in the asteroid belt for 3 years while we finished her weapon systems and trained her crew. Captain Wright's eyes went wide. How is that possible? Even our own sensors should detect something that big? The ship uses a combination of technologies that we developed specifically to counter alien detection methods, Helen explained. Metamaterial hull coating, quantum field generators, and heat dissipation systems that make her indistinguishable from the background radiation of space. Kate took over the briefing at this point. The Phantom isn't just invisible. She's been designed from the ground up to fight alien technology. While they've grown dependent on energy shields and plasma weapons, we've gone back to basics. Helen activated another display showing technical specifications that made several of the captains gasp. Railgun weapons that fire solid tungsten rounds at 3% of light speed. Kinetic missiles with no heat signature or electronic components. An armor plating that's designed to absorb and disperse energy weapons. Captain Hayes whistled softly. How many people know about this ship? Fewer than 100 across the entire planet, Kate replied. The ship exists in no official records. As far as the galaxy knows, our largest vessels are heavy cruisers like the Defiance. The plan they outlined was simple but audacious. Let the Sethric come to Earth thinking they were facing a helpless enemy. Let them bring their entire invasion fleet into the solar system where their escape routes would be limited, and then show them that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. The Phantom has been studying Sethric tactics and technology for months, Helen continued. We know exactly how their shields work, how their weapons target enemies, and how their command structure operates. They think they're hunting sheep, but they're about to discover they've wandered into a Volf's den. Captain Foster asked the question everyone was thinking. What if this doesn't work? What if one invisible ship isn't enough to stop an entire invasion fleet? Kate's answer was firm and confident. Then humanity will go down fighting. But I don't think that's going to happen. The Sethric have one fatal weakness that will be there. Downfall. What's that? Captain Wright asked. They think they're invincible, Kate replied. They've grown so arrogant and overconfident that they've forgotten the most important rule of warfare. Never underestimate your enemy. Helen added one final piece of information that sent chills down everyone's spine. The Phantom isn't just a single ship experiment. She's the prototype for an entire fleet of stealth vessels that are currently under construction in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. If this works, Earth will never again be defenseless against alien aggression. As the meeting broke up and the captains returned to their ships, Kate stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Sethric invasion fleet was already on its way. To Earth, they thought they were coming to destroy a primitive species that couldn't possibly fight back. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology. It was their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to find ways to win even when victory seemed impossible. The aliens had laughed at Earth's crude weapons and simple ships. Soon they would discover that sometimes the most advanced weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming. The attack came exactly when Earth's intelligence had predicted it would. 30 massive Sethric warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like hungry wolves surrounding a flock of sheep. Their hulls gleamed with energy. Shields that could deflect any known weapon and their plasma cannons glowed with enough power to melt entire cities. Admiral Victor stood on the bridge of his flagship Worldburner and felt the familiar rush of excitement that came before an easy victory. His fleet was the pride of the Sethric Empire and had never lost a single battle. Today they would crush the pathetic humans and send a message to every other primitive species in the galaxy. The human ships were already moving to intercept them, which made Victor laugh out loud. 20 vessels total, including their flagship, the Hughes Valiant. It was like watching children with toy swords trying to fight a squad of professional soldiers. The humans would be destroyed within an hour, and then his ships could proceed to Earth itself. Admiral Kate Brooks received the enemy contact report while standing on the bridge of the Valiant. The ship shook slightly as the engines powered up to full combat speed. Around her, the crew worked at their stations with grim determination. They all knew they were probably going to die today, but they also knew their sacrifice might save Earth. Send a message to the Sethric fleet, Kate ordered her communications officer. Tell them they are in violation of Galactic Council territorial accords and must withdraw immediately. The response came back within minutes. Admiral Victor's voice was full of cruel amusement as it echoed through the Valiant's bridge. Pathetic. Humans, your resistance ends today. Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to live as servants to your betters. Kate allowed herself a small smile as she opened a return channel. This is Admiral Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of territorial accords. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The laughter that came back was harsh and full of contempt. Consequences? From you, we have analyzed your ship's human. Your strongest vessel wouldn't last 30 seconds against our weakest escort destroyer. You might be surprised, Admiral, Kate replied calmly. But please by all means come and test that theory. The battle began exactly as the Sethric expected it to. The human fleet charged forward with their kinetic weapons blazing and their primitive missiles streaking through space. But the alien energy shields deflected every attack while plasma bolts tore through human armor like it was made of paper. Within the first hour, 8 human ships had been destroyed or disabled. The Hughes Guardian exploded in a ball of fire when a plasma bolt hit her reactor core. The Hughes Defender lost her engines and began drifting helplessly through space. The UES Ranger took a direct hit to her bridge and went silent forever. Kate's own ship, the Valiant, was taking heavy damage. Smoke filled the bridge as sparks flew from overloaded control panels. Her weapons officer reported that their main guns were offline and their missile tubes were empty. They were fighting with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Is this the best humanity can do? Admiral Victor taunted over the communication channel as his ships continued their advance toward Earth. Your council seat will make a fine trophy for my personal collection. But then something impossible happened. Long-range sensors detected massive explosions among the Sethric rearguard. 3 destroyers simply ceased to exist. No energy signatures on any scanner, no incoming missiles visible to any detection system. The ships just tore apart from massive internal explosions. Report! Victor snarled at his sensor operator as more explosions rippled through his formation. Unknown Admiral, the terrified operator replied. I show no enemy contacts, no weapons fire, nothing at all. The ships are just dying. More Sethric vessels exploded as an unseen predator moved among them like a ghost in the darkness. The aliens' advanced sensors that could detect a single electron from light years away showed absolutely nothing. Whatever was killing them was completely invisible to every detection method they possessed. Panic began to spread through the Sethric fleet as their invincible formation started falling apart. Ships began breaking away from their assigned positions and moving in random patterns, trying to avoid an enemy they couldn't see or track. All ships evasive maneuvers. Victor shouted into his communicator. Find that ship. Use active scanning. Fire randomly if you have to. But you cannot evade what you cannot detect, and you cannot fight what you cannot find. The invisible killer continued its deadly work, moving through the alien formation like death itself. Every few minutes another Sethric warship would explode, or suffer critical damage from weapons that struck without warning on the other side of the battle. Admiral Brooks watched her tactical display with amazement. The red dots representing enemy ships were disappearing one by one while her sensors showed nothing but empty space where the attacks were coming from. She knew about Project Shadow, but seeing it in action was still incredible. Captain Alex Turner commanded the Hughes Phantom from a bridge that looked nothing like a traditional warship. Instead of windows showing the outside view, the walls were covered with screens displaying sensor data and tactical information. His ship moved through space, like a shark hunting in dark water. Target their command ship, Turner ordered his weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos. Aim for the shield generators first. Let's give them something to really worry about. The Phantom's railguns fired tungsten rounds at tremendous velocity. The projectiles were completely solid metal with no electronics or energy signatures that alien sensors could detect. They struck the world burner shields and punched right through them like they didn't exist. Impossible! Admiral Victor roared as his flagship shuddered under the impact. Nothing can penetrate our shields. His tactical officer's claws clicked nervously on his control panel as he reported the unthinkable. Admiral, our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and explosive warheads. These projectiles are purely kinetic, solid metal moving at enormous velocity. Our defensive systems don't even register them as threats. The truth was finally beginning to dawn on the Sethric commander. The humans hadn't tried to match alien technology. Instead, they had studied their enemies' weaknesses and built weapons specifically designed to exploit them. Energy shields were useless against solid projectiles. Sensor arrays tuned to detect energy signatures couldn't track objects with no electronic components. Captain Turner opened a communication channel that broadcast to both the Sethric fleet and any other aliens who might be watching. His voice was calm and professional but carried an undertone that was absolutely terrifying. This is Captain Turner of the UES Phantom to all Sethric forces. You have 30 seconds to begin immediate withdrawal from this system, or I will continue eliminating your ships one by one. This is your only warning. Admiral Victor's response was predictably defiant, even though his ship was burning around. Show yourself, coward, face us in honorable combat. Turner's reply was as cold as the vacuum of space itself. Honor is a luxury we cannot afford when defending our home. You came here to destroy an entire species. We will use whatever methods are necessary to stop you. The slaughter continued for another 20 minutes. The Sethric fleet, despite all their technological superiority, proved helpless against an enemy that struck from shadows and vanished before they could respond. Ship after ship fell to the invisible predator until Admiral Victor finally swallowed his pride and ordered a full retreat. By the time the surviving Sethric vessels limped away toward the edge of the solar system, they had lost 18 of their original 30 ships. An entire invasion fleet had been crippled by a single human vessel that never once appeared on their sensors. As the defeated aliens fled, Captain Turner made one final broadcast directed at the Galactic Council itself. To all members of the Council watching this engagement, humanity wishes to remind you that underestimating your enemy is often fatal. We look forward to more productive discussions about our membership status. The message was clear and unmistakable. The laughing had stopped forever. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the UES Phantom watching the tactical display as his ship continued its deadly hunt through the remains of the Sethric invasion fleet. The stealth dreadnought moved like a predator among helpless prey. Invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed, around him his crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment for 3 years while hiding in the asteroid belt. Every simulation, every drill, every test had prepared them for the day when Earth would need them most. Now that day had finally come, and they were proving that human ingenuity could overcome any technological advantage. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos worked at the weapons station with deadly precision. Each shot from the Phantom's railguns was carefully calculated to cause maximum damage while revealing nothing about their position. The tungsten rounds struck their targets at tremendous velocity and vanished into space without leaving any trace. "Target the command ship's main reactor," Turner ordered as the Worldburner tried desperately to escape. "Let's end this quickly." The railgun fired again, and the massive Sethric flagship shuddered as the solid projectile punched through its hull. Like paper, secondary explosions cascaded along the ship's length as critical systems failed. Admiral Victor S. Proud vessel was dying, and he couldn't even see what was killing it. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council watched the battle from their massive space station in stunned silence. The same aliens who had laughed at humanity's primitive technology now saw their most advanced military force being systematically destroyed by an enemy. They couldn't detect High Arbiter Klon's crystalline form dimmed with concern as another Sethric destroyer exploded on his screen. How is this possible? Our most sensitive instruments show only empty space where their attacks originate. Commander Zix of the Sethric Empire felt his blood run cold as he watched his people's fleet being massacred. His reptilian features twisted with dawning realization and fear. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities. That's not primitive technology, that's adaptive evolution. They studied our weaknesses and built weapons specifically to exploit them. The Hive Queen's compound eyes focused on the tactical display with new respect. The collective acknowledges that we severely underestimated this species. Their strategic thinking is far more advanced than we assumed. Back in the battle, Captain Turner decided it was time to make his presence known. He opened a communication channel that would broadcast to both the Sethric fleet and the watching council members. His voice carried the calm authority of someone who held all the advantages. "This is Captain Turner of the UES Phantom to all Sethric forces. You came here expecting to find helpless victims. Instead, you found an enemy that refuses to play by your rules. You have 30 seconds to begin immediate withdrawal, or I will continue eliminating your ships one by one." Admiral Victor S.'s response crackled with desperate fury. "Show yourself, coward. Face us in honorable combat like a true warrior." Turner's laugh was soft, but it carried clearly over the communication channel. "Honor? You came here to commit genocide against an entire species, and you talk about honor? You brought 30 warships to attack colonies full of miners and farmers. Where was your honor then?" The Sethric admiral had no answer to that accusation because they both knew it was true. The Sethric Empire had built its reputation on crushing weaker opponents. They had never learned to fight against an enemy that could strike back effectively. "You want to see me?" Turner continued. "Very well, I'll give you something to shoot at." For just a moment, the Phantom's stealth systems flickered and the massive human dreadnought became visible to alien sensors. The ship was enormous, easily as large as any Sethric battleship, but its design was completely unlike anything in the galactic database. Instead of the smooth curves and glowing energy conduits that marked most alien vessels, the Phantom was all angular surfaces and dark metal. It looked like a piece of the void itself given form and substance. Strange protrusions along its hull marked the positions of weapons that didn't match any known technology. The Sethric fleet immediately opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and energy beams converged on the human ship from every direction. For a moment, space itself seemed to burn with the intensity of their concentrated firepower, but when the energy dissipated, the Phantom was gone. Once again, completely invisible to every sensor and detector the aliens possessed. The massive barrage had accomplished nothing except to reveal how truly helpless they were against this ghostly enemy. "Impossible," Victor whispered as his sensors showed empty space where the human ship had been. "Nothing can move that fast?" His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. "Admiral, the ship didn't move. Our weapons struck the target but caused no damage. Somehow their armor absorbed every joule of energy we fired at them." Turner's voice came over the communication channel again, still calm and professional. "Your energy weapons are designed to overwhelm shields and vaporize conventional armor. Our hull uses metamaterials that convert directed energy into harmless heat and radiation. You might as well be throwing rocks at us." The implications were staggering. Not only were the humans invisible to alien sensors, but they were also immune to alien weapons. Every advantage the Sethruk Empire had relied on for centuries was useless against this single enemy vessel. Dr. Helen Martinez watched the battle from Earth's command center with satisfaction. 50 years of research and development were finally paying off. While the galaxy had grown complacent with their standard technologies, humans had been forced to innovate and adapt. The metamaterial hull coating was inspired by studying how energy weapons interact with matter, she explained to the assembled Earth officials. "Instead of trying to build stronger shields, we created armor that simply absorbs and redirects energy attacks." Admiral Kate Brooks nodded approvingly from her position at the communication station. "And the stealth technology?" "A combination of approaches," Helen replied. "Quantum field manipulation, metamaterial coatings, and heat distribution. Systems that make the ship indistinguishable from background space radiation. No known sensor can detect us when we don't want to be found." Back in space, the slaughter continued as Captain Turner systematically eliminated the remaining Sethruk vessels. Each attack came without warning from a direction the aliens couldn't predict. Their formation fell apart as ships fled in panic trying to escape an enemy they couldn't fight. Admiral Victor finally accepted the inevitable truth. His invasion force was being destroyed by a single human ship, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. With 18 of his 30 vessels already destroyed or disabled, he had no choice but to order a retreat. "All surviving ships withdraw." Immediately, he commanded through gritted teeth. "Set course for home base maximum velocity." As the battered remnants of the Sethruk fleet limped away from Earth, Captain Turner made one final broadcast. This time his message was directed specifically at the Galactic Council. "To all members of the Council who are monitoring this engagement. You dismissed humanity as a primitive species with crude technology. You allowed the Sethruk to attack our colonies because you thought we couldn't defend ourselves. Today you have learned that advanced technology means nothing without the wisdom to use it properly." He paused to let that sink in before continuing. "Earth seeks peaceful cooperation with all species, but we will not be victims. Any future attacks on human territory will be met with overwhelming force. We hope this demonstration has made our position clear." The communication channel closed, leaving the galaxy to contemplate a new reality. Humanity had revealed itself as a force to be reckoned with. The species that had been laughed at and dismissed had just defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces with a single invisible warship. The age of human weakness was over. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The massive chamber that had once echoed with condescending laughter toward humanity now buzzed with nervous energy and hushed conversations. Everything had changed since that terrible day when the invisible human warship had emerged from the shadows. Admiral Kate Brooks arrived at Nexus Prime, not as a desperate supplicant seeking acceptance, but as the representative of a species that had proven, beyond doubt, that it belonged among the stars. The UES Phantom accompanied her diplomatic vessel, still invisible to all sensors but making its presence known through subtle demonstrations that kept the alien fleets at a respectful distance. The docking bay was filled with the same alien ships as before, but this time they maintained careful distances from the human vessels. No one wanted to accidentally provoke the species that had destroyed an entire Sethric invasion fleet with a single warship. The mysterious humans might have other surprises hidden in the darkness of space. High Arbiter Klon called the session to order with his crystalline voice noticeably less patronizing than it had been during humanity's first appearance. The tall crystal being's inner light pulsed with what his species displayed as nervous energy. "We are here to discuss the recent developments regarding humanity's place in our alliance," Klon announced to the assembled delegates. "Recent events have shown that our initial assessment of human capabilities was seriously flawed." Admiral Brooks stood at the central podium with her bearing confident and commanding. Gone was any trace of the desperation that had marked humanity's first appearance before the Council. She spoke with the authority of someone whose people had proven they deserved respect. "Honored delegates, I come before you not to ask for acceptance, but to discuss the terms of our full membership in this alliance. Earth has demonstrated that we can defend ourselves and our interests. Now we wish to contribute to the greater good of all galactic civilization." The shift in language was not lost on anyone present. Commander Zix of what remained of the Sethric Empire hissed softly but made no objection. His once mighty fleet had been reduced to a handful of ships, and his government had been forced to sign a humiliating non-aggression treaty with Earth. The Hive Queen's compound eyes focused on Brooks with obvious respect. "The collective acknowledges that humanity has exceeded our initial assessment by a considerable margin. Your defensive capabilities are indeed impressive. We would be honored to work with such innovative warriors." Brooks allowed herself a slight smile. "Defensive capabilities? Respectfully, Your Majesty, what you witnessed was merely a single ship operating in defensive mode while protecting our home system. Earth's actual military capabilities remain classified, but I assure you they are considerably more extensive than what you have seen." A chill ran through the assembled delegates as the implications of that statement sank in. If one invisible human ship could devastate the Sethric Empire's finest fleet, what could humanity accomplish if they decided to go on the offensive? How many more ghost ships were hiding in the darkness between the stars? Dr. Helen Martinez, now serving as Earth's Chief Technology Officer, stepped forward to address the Council. Her presentation would reshape how the galaxy thought about technological advancement and military strategy. For too long, this galaxy has stagnated under the assumption that bigger energy weapons and stronger shields represent the pinnacle of military evolution, she began. Humanity offers a different perspective. True superiority comes not from raw power but from intelligence, adaptability, and the willingness to think beyond conventional limitations. She activated a holographic display showing various human technologies. Not the classified stealth systems, but enough to demonstrate Earth's actual capabilities. The aliens studied advanced metamaterials, quantum computers, and artificial intelligence. Systems that complemented rather than replaced human decision-making. "We propose a new model of cooperation," Martinez continued. "One where each species contributes their unique strengths rather than simply following whoever has the most powerful weapons. The galaxy has grown stagnant because everyone tries to build the same basic technologies, just bigger and more powerful." High Arbiter Klon's crystalline form brightened with what his species displayed as intense interest. "And what would humanity contribute to such an alliance?" Captain Jake Morrison stepped forward. He was the same officer who had endured the Council's cruel laughter 3 years earlier, but now he spoke with the quiet confidence of someone whose people had risen from mockery to respect through sheer determination. "We offer something this galaxy has forgotten," Jake said. "The ability to see past conventional thinking and find solutions that no one else considered possible. While you perfected energy weapons, we mastered kinetic systems. While you built stronger shields, we developed stealth technology. While you created larger fleets, we built smarter ships." He gestured toward the viewing ports where stars shone in the infinite darkness beyond the station. Humanity brings to this council the one thing that no amount of advanced technology can replace: the capacity to adapt to any situation, to innovate under pressure, and to find ways to win even when victory seems impossible. The vote, when it finally came, was unanimous. Even the Sethric delegation voted in favor, though. Commander Zix's expression suggested he was doing so through gritted teeth. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all the rights, responsibilities, and respect that such status entailed, but the real changes went far deeper than simple membership. The demonstration of human capabilities had shattered the galaxy's assumptions about technological development. Species that had grown complacent began investing in new research programs. Military doctrines that had remained unchanged for centuries were suddenly being rewritten. As the session concluded and the various alien delegations prepared to depart, Commander Zix approached Admiral Brooks privately. The reptilian officer's earlier arrogance had been completely replaced by something that looked almost like fear mixed with grudging admiration. "Admiral, if I may ask a question," Zix said in a voice much quieter than his usual booming tones. "How long were you planning this? The stealth technology, the tactical innovations, all of it?" Brooks considered the question carefully before answering. "Commander, from the moment we first detected your radio signals 50 years ago, we knew this day would eventually come. We hoped the galaxy would welcome us with friendship and cooperation, but we prepared for the possibility that it might not." "And if we had chosen friendship from the beginning?" Brooks' smile was genuine this time. "Then the Phantom would have remained humanity's most carefully guarded secret, and our children might have grown up in a more peaceful galaxy. But peace, Commander, must be built on a foundation of mutual respect, and respect is something that must be earned, not simply given." "You could have destroyed our entire fleet," Zix said quietly. "Why did you show mercy?" "Because we don't want to rule the galaxy," Brooks replied. "We want to improve it. Fear might have given us temporary victory, but it would have made long-term cooperation impossible. Better to demonstrate our capabilities and then offer partnership to anyone wise enough to accept it." As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, the galaxy began settling into a new reality. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as servants or pets, but as equals who had proven their worth through intelligence and determination. The aliens had laughed at humanity's primitive ships and crude weapons. They had dismissed Earth as a species of clever animals who might someday evolve into something interesting. But they stopped laughing when the invisible warship emerged from the shadows, carrying an undeniable message. In the vast darkness between, the star's advanced technology meant nothing without the wisdom to use it properly. Raw power was useless against an enemy smart enough to turn your own strengths into weaknesses. And sometimes the most dangerous opponent was the one who refused to play by the established rules. Humanity's age among the stars had begun. The galaxy would never be the same again. And in hidden shipyards throughout human space, more ghost ships waited in the darkness, ready to defend Earth's new position in the cosmic order. The laughter had ended forever. Now the real work of building a better galaxy could finally begin.